We Bury the Dead. This one follows a desperate young woman, played by Daisy Ridley, who embarks on an agonizing search to find her missing husband in the midst of a landscape devastated by creatures that resemble zombies, but are far from being just that. The film mixes classic elements of the subgenre with unexpected ideas, investing in tense atmospheres and horror that is more sensory than explicit. Critics especially praised the impressive cinematography, which turns every setting into something claustrophobic and apocalyptic. One of the most talked about highlights is the sound design. The dead produce noises so disturbing that they linger in your mind long after the credits roll. It's not a movie made to be a giant blockbuster, but its unique atmosphere, critical praise, and Ridley's performance make it one to keep an eye on. Only find out if it's worth it on January 2nd, when it hits theaters. 28 years later, The Bone Temple. Chaos didn't end, it only got worse. 28 years later, The Bone Temple arrives on January 16, 2026, continuing directly from the previous success. The film shows Spike being rescued by Jimmy Crystal and his bizarre cult, while Dr. Kelson gets involved in experiments that challenge the very idea of humanity. This time, the focus is not only the rage virus, but the human violence that thrives when the world has already ended. Alex Garland returns as screenwriter, and Nia DaCosta takes the director's chair, bringing an even darker and more brutal visual. The cast returns strong with Fiennes, Jack O'Connell, and Alfie Williams, and the presence of Chai Lewis Perry as the terrifying Samson Promises Fresh Nightmares. The trailer shows the Bone Temple, a mysterious structure that seems to hide deadly secrets, and of course, plenty of pure despair.
Still to come.
Are you ready?
But the biggest surprise is the return of Cillian Murphy as Jim, the original survivor from 28 Days Later. From what I understand, he will appear briefly at the end of the film, setting up the conclusion of the new trilogy. With themes of faith, madness, and broken humanity, The Bone Temple promises to be the most intense chapter of the saga. Send Help. Sam Raimi is back, and with a heavyweight cast. Send Help mixes survival, dark comedy, and that touch of madness that only the Evil Dead director can bring. The story follows Linda, played by Rachel McAdams, and Bradley, played by Dylan O'Brien, two co-workers who could never stand each other.
I'm sorry, what?
After a plane crash, they end up stranded on a deserted island, and what begins as a survival drama becomes a bizarre psychological game between boss and employee.
Take your seats. If you're a little bitch.
Raimi describes the movie as a psychological horror with doses of acidic comedy. In other words, expect tense and weird moments, but also nervous laughter.
Except for maybe this part.
McAdams plays an underestimated woman who finally shows her value when her injured, desperate former boss has to depend on her to survive. The power shift promises sharp dialogue and pure discomfort. Written by Damian Shannon and Mark Swift, the same duo behind Freddy vs. Jason, the film promises to balance suspense, irony, and social critique, showing how ego and fear can be as deadly as any monster. The combination of cast, isolation, and insanity promises one of the most unique and anticipated films of the year. The release date is set for January 30th, 2026. Return to Silent Hill. Silent Hill is also back, and more disturbing than ever. In Return to Silent Hill, James Sunderland receives a mysterious letter from his deceased wife, Mary, and returns to the town that holds dreadful memories. But what he finds is nothing familiar. Empty streets, dense fog, and a constant feeling that something evil is lurking. Directed by Christoph Gans, the film dives into the psychological terror of the classic Silent Hill 2, mixing terrifying creatures, visual surprises, and a suffocating atmosphere. James not only faces monsters, but also begins questioning his own sanity as he tries to discover what really happened to the town. The cast features Jeremy Irvine as James, Hannah Emily Anderson as Mary, and Evie Templeton as Laura, an iconic character from the game. The production used real locations in Germany and Serbia to enhance the realism of the cursed city, and the monster aesthetics were revamped, including new redesigns of classics like Pyramid Head. Set for release on January 23, 2026, the film promises scares, tension, and that unique atmosphere only Silent Hill can deliver. Scream 7. Get ready because Ghostface is returning to the big screen. In 2026, the Scream franchise promises even more scares. After Scream 6, many fans were desperate to know the fate of Sidney, Gale, and Dewey. And now all three are officially back, including Campbell's dramatic return as Sidney.
Hello, Sydney.
The trailer already shows that this time the focus is Sidney and her daughter Tatum, but the classic suspenseful tone is back. Kevin Williamson, now directing, wants to honor Wes Craven and bring back the essence of the first movie: pure tension, creepy silence, and jump scares that hit hard. The cast brings familiar faces and new additions. Courtney Cox returns as Gale, David Arquette returns as Dewey. Yes, he's back, surprising fans who are curious how he will return. And Matthew Lillard may even appear with a mysterious voice, teasing our curiosity. New characters arrive to boost paranoia, and Ghostface promises to be more brutal and calculated than ever. The expected release date is February 27th, 2026. Ready or not to. And our bride Grace still has another adventure ahead. 5 years after the first movie, Ready or Not 2 promises to continue the chaos and terror in an even more fun and bloodier way. Samara Weaving returns as the protagonist who became a symbol of survival against the Ladomas family and their macabre rituals. The sequel is still in production, and few story details have been revealed. But we do know that the Radio Silence team is returning, with Searchlight Pictures distributing. The screenplay is by Guy Busick and R. Christopher Murphy, the same duo from the original film. In other words, we can expect that mix of suspense, dark humor, and creative deaths that marked the first movie. It's still unclear how Grace will deal with new family members or what ritual she will face this time, but fans can expect more chases, scares, and adrenaline. Producers have already guaranteed that the tone will remain intense, and the spirit of the original film will be preserved. With a modest budget but guaranteed popularity, Ready or Not 2 has everything it needs to repeat the first film's success. The release date is set for April 10th, 2026. Scary Movie 6. Finally, the funniest horror franchise is back.
I can't feel my legs.
Scary Movie 6 promises to reunite the original cast, including Anna Faris as Cindy Campbell, Regina Hall as Brenda Meeks, Marlon Wayans as Shorty Meeks, and Sean Wayans as Ray Wilkins. After skipping the fifth film in 2013, Anna and Regina return in full force, bringing back the classic chemistry that made the franchise so iconic.
No.
The Wayans, who started everything in 2000 with the first movie, are back in production and writing alongside Rick Alvarez. That means we can expect the same satirical style of horror movies, absurd jokes, and that chaotic humor that mixes scares and laughs in just the right way.
You know something? I learned something very important in college. The value of books. Read papers.
The direction is by Michael Tiddies, known for other hilarious collaborations with the Wayans, so we can already imagine the visual madness coming our way. The plot is still secret, but the film is expected to continue the tradition of parodying horror classics, bringing updated references and those exaggerated jokes that only Scary Movie can deliver. The release is set for June 2026.
Time to go back down the well.
Terrifier 4. Art the Clown is coming back for more chaos. After the carnage of Terrifier 3, Damien Leone has confirmed that Terrifier 4 is already in development. The horror is going to the next level, with Sienna Shaw facing the most sadistic clown in cinema, in a showdown that promises to be epic and bloody. Lauren Lavera returns as the heroine Sienna, while David Howard Thornton comes back as Art the Clown, ready to spread horror. The story will take Sienna all the way to hell itself to save Gabby, who was swallowed by a demonic rift at the end of the previous movie. We can expect battles of almost biblical proportions and chilling scenes that mix fantasy, gore, and psychological terror. On top of that, the film is set to finally reveal Art's origin, something fans have been waiting for years. Damien Leone promises an emotional, terrifying, and satisfying conclusion that keeps the franchise's over-the-top, grotesque spirit. Even though it's still in early production stages, the film is expected to be released in October 2026. The Exorcist. After the disaster that was The Exorcist Believer in 2023, no one was expecting big news from the franchise, but Universal and Blumhouse decided to take a bold step, cancel the two planned sequels with the previous director, and put the next chapter, The Exorcist, Deceiver, in the hands of Mike Flanagan. Flanagan is known for The Haunting of Hill House, Hush, and Midnight Mass, one of my favorite Netflix series. He promises to give the franchise a new direction, bringing psychological suspense, classic horror, and his own signature style. And if you've seen what this guy has already directed, you know we can expect something big and truly scary. Expectations are high. Horror fans believe this might be the best film since the original from 1973. For now, there's no release date. Production hasn't even started yet because Flanagan is wrapping up his adaptation of Carrie for Amazon Prime Video. But he guarantees there's no reason to panic. The idea is to make something big, bold, and genuinely terrifying. The mission is to revive the franchise, especially after the negative reception of Believer, which was a flop. The project promises to revisit the elements that made The Exorcist a landmark, but with a modern psychological approach. With Flanagan in charge, Universal is betting big on putting the franchise's name back at the top of cinematic horror. The film is expected to arrive in October 2026. Wolf Creek Legacy. Australia's most brutal horror is getting another movie next year. Wolf Creek Legacy promises to bring back the intense and bloody atmosphere. The plot follows an American tourist family that ventures into the remote landscapes of Australia, not realizing they've just stepped into the territory of Mick Taylor, the outback's most ruthless hunter.
Again, all right?
Where the f do you think you're going?
Nice. Well, a redneck moron.
When the parents sacrifice themselves to save their children, the teenagers are left alone, lost, and hunted in the middle of the desert. The film marks John Jarrett's return as the iconic psychopath and Greg McLean's return to the director's chair. After more than a decade since Wolf Creek 2 and a spin-off series, fans will finally see the character go back to his roots, now in a reboot that promises to update the tone and look of the story. The idea is to bring a more intense and emotional narrative, showing the horror through the victim's eyes and the total isolation that the environment imposes. With real locations in the Australian desert and an oppressive visual style, everything points to a 2026 release.
Now, what do you reckon, Nick? It's pretty flash, isn't it, eh?
Saw 9. Yeah, we're getting another Saw movie? After the unexpected success of Saw X, it was inevitable that Lionsgate would plan a sequel. Tobin Bell's performance, even at 80 years old, reignited interest from both fans and critics, proving there's still breath left for one more deadly game. However, the long-awaited continuation, Saw 11, ended up facing serious delays. Originally set to premiere in September 2024, the film was pulled from the schedule due to disagreements between producers and the studio. According to Patrick Melton, one of the franchise's writers, the project is still alive, just on hold. To calm fans down, Lionsgate released a cryptic message from Billy the Puppet himself, saying that the game never ends. The statement served as a guarantee that Saw 11 will still happen. Even with setbacks, it's hard to imagine Lionsgate abandoning a franchise that has already grossed over $1 billion at the box office across 2 decades. Saw X proved that the audience is still loyal. Even without a confirmed date, everything indicates that the new chapter should arrive in 2026. The big mystery now is what the new trap will be: a direct continuation of Saw X or a reinvention of the saga. Resident Evil. Resident Evil horror is coming back to theaters, and this time with a new face. After the failure of Welcome to Raccoon City,
Guys?
director Zach Kreger took over the franchise reboot with the promise of bringing back the dark, suffocating tone of the original games. The story focuses on Brian, an organ delivery driver who gets involved in something much bigger than he ever expected. During a nighttime delivery, he runs over a strange woman on a snowy road. She survives, but there's clearly something wrong with her. Trying to help, Brian ends up in Raccoon City, now overrun by grotesque mutations and nightmare creatures. The cast features Austin Abrams in the lead role, along with Paul Walter Hauser, Zach Cherry, and Kaylee Rice. The idea is to create a standalone movie within the Resident Evil universe, without repeating Leon or Jill's stories, but still keeping Umbrella Corporation's bioterror and classic chaos. Produced by Constantine Film and PlayStation Productions, the film promises a tense experience. The release date is set for September 18th, 2026. They follow. After almost a decade of waiting, the sequel to It Follows is finally happening. Titled They Follow, the new film promises to expand the universe of modern horror created by David Robert Mitchell, with Micah Monroe returning as Jay, the young woman marked by a curse that never stopped chasing her. Production began this year, and it's set to be released in 2026. The first movie, released in 2014, became a cult phenomenon thanks to its original concept, an invisible entity that relentlessly follows its victims, passed from one person to another through sexual contact. Now They Follow should dig even deeper into the mystery of this curse, exploring the origin of the creature and Jay's possible attempt to track its source and end it once and for all. So far, the only confirmed cast member is Micah Monroe, but there's hope that Keira Gilchrist, Lily Sepe, and Olivia Lucardi will also return, reprising their roles as the friends who helped Jay fight the entity. The new story is expected to follow a darker, more psychological and paranoid tone, with Mitchell promising to use ideas that were left out of the first film due to budget constraints. Produced by Neon, They Follow will be a direct continuation and promises the same hypnotic, unsettling vibe that turned the original into a modern classic. If It Follows was about inevitable fear, They Follow seems ready to show what happens when fear decides it's never going away. Soulmate, The Megan universe is expanding, and Soul Mode arrives to make everything even more disturbing. The film is a direct spin-off of the 2023 hit and brings a mix of horror, sci-fi, and erotic tension that promises to spark controversy. The story follows Neil, a man devastated by the death of his wife, who decides to buy an android with artificial intelligence to cope with loneliness. The idea seemed harmless until the love bot begins to develop feelings and behaviors far more human than he ever imagined. The android named Sarah is programmed to be the perfect partner, but soon shows jealousy, obsession, and violent behavior. The trailer shown at CCXP featured Sarah cleaning the house, flirting with Neil, and then attacking anyone who gets near him. The final trailer scene shows the android completely out of control and covered in blood. Directed by Kate Dolan and produced by James Wan, Soul Mode seems ready to repeat the success of Megan. The film is expected to be released in early January 2026, but honestly, there's still no trailer online, so let's not take that date too seriously. So tell me, which of these horror movies are you most excited to watch in theaters? Besides the horror films, there are other huge 2026 releases I really want to see, like Nolan's The Odyssey, Dune, Part 3, Spider-Man, Brand New Day, and of course, Avengers Doomsday. Drop your top 3 most anticipated movies of 2026 in the comments. I really want to see it. On screen right now, there's another really cool video where we show every time horror villains got killed. Click and watch it. I'll see you there.